All right, guys, so you know how much I like Canon cameras, and I was really, or have been, and still am, really interested in the new C50 that's coming out. And we did a little kind of sneak peek and rumors of the new C50 that will hopefully be out sometime the first half of 2021. But perusing around the old internet, Sony has been coming out, or is coming out, or is rumored to have come out with an FX3. So this is another one of these almost like boxy style cameras. A little less of a box style camera and more kind of looking like a mirrorless camera, but really pushed into that video world versus pushed into the photography world, just like the C50 is, and kind of just like this camera here, the Panasonic BG-H1. That was kind of the first, I want to say, indie filmmaker, kind of consumerish, a little more price friendly cinema camera that kind of came out from Panasonic. Now, of course, not full frame, but Panasonic likes to use their kind of own kind of stuff. I think it's still using the micro four thirds. I don't know how long they'll be using that for, but as of now, they continue. But I wanted to kind of look at these because if you look at, let's say, price points for these, if you look at the Panasonic, you're looking, I believe, in like the $2,500-ish to $3,000 range. If you're looking at the C50 from Canon, no real price point, of course, on that one yet, but they are talking about guesstimating somewhere in that $3,000 range is what they're guessing at, $2,500 to $3,000 range. And then lastly, and this is, I want to just bring this one up here, is if you see here, this is the leaked Sony FX3, and it's I have to say it's sharp looking. I really like that look. So the first rumor was that this was going to shoot 8K, and then of course that was just going to be like, and everything else you just leave it alone, because if this thing is coming out at a somewhat reasonable price for 8K, then you know all the other guys might as well just pack it up. And just so you guys know, as much as I like Canon cameras, because I shoot with all Canon, if I were to start over again, Sony would definitely be one of those cameras that I was like, maybe Sony, because I really do like how much they're pushing the industry right now. But let's kind of look at this. This is the Sony FX3. This is the leak, and this is the leak, of course, of what the camera looks like. And I have to say, that's a pretty good looking camera. On this page here, we just kind of go back, there's another leak of it, of an image, but here's some leaked specs, and these are specs of the camera as well as a price leak. So if you look at this one here, price about 3,800, they're called euros. Now that's pretty pricey. I think that's about like 5,000 Canadian. So it's definitely not an inexpensive camera by any means, 5,000 Canadian, but if it's 5,000 for a cinema quality, all right, I kind of get it. Taking CF Express A cards, records 4K 120p, as it says here, not 8K. Pre-order start February 23rd, so we should be expecting some kind of announcement, I would think, from Sony fairly soon on this, if they're going to actually do some kind of formal announcement. They said there's a news source also said that the FX3 is a little bit the same as the A7S3, but nothing wrong with that. The A7S3, nice camera. Active cooling, so we should have no time limits or anything like that in regards to shooting that 4K 120 even. An XLR adapter in the box, very nice. S-Cinetone, no overheating, even after 13 hours of 4K all-in-one 10-bit 422. 3/4 holes on top, 2 for XLRs, 1 is free, also 3/4 on both sides. Price is, they're saying 4,500, I believe that's euros, or 4,500 maybe pounds, I'm not even sure, 45 euros, 4,500 euros versus 3,750. So we're not necessarily sure exactly, of course, on the price, but still, this is not going to be a cheap camera. And this is where, you know, like I said, depending on the Panasonic and the Canon, this is definitely something that you and I need to consider, right? Price can play a big role. If I have to spend 5,000 or 6,000 on that, there's got to be features on it that warrant me paying that extra bit of money, right? If the Canon one comes out at, let's say, 3,000, and I believe the Panasonic, I have a Canadian site for the Panasonic. The Panasonic right now, body only 2,600 Canadian. So that's actually pretty good. 2,600 Canadian is actually somewhat reasonable for a cinema camera. So, and even here, if you look at this, right, this is shooting 4K 60, so it doesn't do 4K 120, but 4K 60, 13 stops of dynamic range, 10-bit, and that's both live internal and external recordings, dual native ISOs, right, aluminum body, and you can rock this thing out to be super small, or as you can see some of the photos here, right, it can be pretty much a big, like, behemoth. I had a photo here of it somewhere. Can't remember where it was. But it can be totally just blown out to be just an enormous little camera. Does that sound weird? An enormous little camera? You get what I'm saying, right? If you look at the C50, we're looking at a Super 35 4K, and I don't mind a Super 35. No IBIS, but RF mount. Also has an internal 10-stop ND. Now the other ones don't talk about that, which I do like. C-Log 2 and C-Log 3. Only 4208 bit internally. 4K 60, 1080, 120. 422 10-bit external. So again, 4K 60. No RAW, uses the standard Canons. So, you know, the Panasonic definitely has some perks to it, especially at that like $2,500 Canadian price point. Like, that's awesome. If you look at, of course, the C50 and the possibly new Sony FX3, you know, spec-wise, the big one there is if you're like a 10-bit shooter, for sure, I think. And if you need to shoot 4K 120p, so that 13 hours of 4K all in 10-bit 422, the Canon, as far as we know, would need an external recorder, you know, and you're getting full frame, not Super 35. So there's a couple things there, right? You know, you got Micro Four Thirds with the Panasonic, you got Super 35 on the Canon, and you got full frame on the Sony, right? You got 10-bit on the Panasonic. Internal wise, you only have 8-bit on the Canon C50, and you got full 10-bit again on the Sony. But the price keeps jumping as well. 4K 60 on the Panasonic, 4K 60 on the Canon, and 4K 120 on the Sony. Yeah, you know, I don't know. It's a smoking camera for sure. It's an awesome looking camera if all the specs are right. Pricey, right? For someone like myself who's doing like YouTube videos, is it worth that investment? I don't know. The Panasonic definitely has a bit of my curiosity. You know, I do or would like to get a little cinema camera at some point. Is it worth the money? I don't know. Should I just get another R6 maybe at some point? Yeah, maybe. Or even an R. If the R's come down in price, if the R's were to come down in price, that might even be a camera I'd look at to get another kind of side shot, right? All right, guys, I just wanted you guys to stay in the loop, stay up to date. Sony, yeah, this one's interesting. I really do like the looks of it too. I think the looks of this one, especially in this shot right here, right, that Sony FX3 product image, I love that like stone gray. That's super nice. All right, guys, we'll stay looking at this because I think that's a cool little camera, depending on the price. All right, my friends, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the little notification bell. We'll stay up to date with these guys, and we will see you tomorrow morning. Later, my friends.